All right, guys. What's up? It's your Statisfaction report for February 17, 2015. So a lot of hype coming up to this report. And hopefully by the end, you guys understand why there was so much hype, why the results are so staggering. Before I start the actual analysis, remember, luck exists everywhere. It really, really existed here. We'll see that later on. I'm going to tell you, I did not expect these results. I was going to do this report no matter what the results were. It's not because of what happened. That's why I'm doing it. So please remember that throughout. I was going to do this no matter what. Let's first start off by the things that have not changed. 5 of the 6 teams that made the playoffs still make the playoffs. So one team is out and one team is in. We'll figure out who those teams are shortly. 1 out of the 2 winners is still a winner, and by winners I mean Scott and Roger. So one of you still wins, the other one does not. Who that is? Coming up soon. Teasers. These are like the internet things like, you will not believe what happened. In actuality, 3 teams finished with double-digit wins, and there are still 3 teams, and they have the exact same last names. It is a Mostrom, it is a Hemholt, and it is a Verkijk, Scott. So 3 did, 3 still will. Overall, 9 of the 12 teams finished within 1 game in actuality compared to the rerun. Oh, and again, if you didn't watch my other video, the rerun, I reran last year with everyone in their new slot. So I was E1 last year. I'm still E1. I guess I can pull this up a minute. Yeah, so Andy was N1, Mike moves into N1, Andy moves to S2, and so just put everyone in their new slots and reran it. Thinking that it would be a little bit more balanced, and we should see more accurate results. Another thing that hasn't changed: the same 8 teams that are still alive come week 15 are the same 8 teams that are still alive come week 15 in the resim. So Deuces, your prediction for you winning the championship, not correct. You weren't that far off. You just played the wrong team in week 14. So you were wrong there because the 4 really, really good teams, myself, Mike, Scott, and Doug, were still the final 4. And the final 4 teams in the anti-playoffs, slide this over here, which is Lori, Derek, Roger, and Derek. You're still the 4 teams as well. Just like what actually happened, a team does make the playoffs with a losing record, but it is not a division winner. And the other thing that remains the same, Lori's team still sucks, or has sucked in the past. He still finishes with the worst regular season record. So what has changed? What did change with the rerun? 5 teams would have finished with exactly a 4-9 record, which is shocking to me. That many teams finished exactly with that record. Another thing that changed: only 1 team finishes with double-digit losses. It's Lori. I already said that he was the worst. So the other 2 Dereks make it to 4-9. They're 2 of the 5 4-9 teams. One of the teams that was shat upon the most this year actually increased their win total, and that's Samuels. We gave him shit. I gave him probably more shit than anyone else about how he only made the playoffs. He only won his division because he was in such a terrible division. Oh, I didn't want to say that. Well, spoiler alert, I meant to save that for later. So Samuels, even though I shit on your team all year, you actually increased your win total from 6 to 7. The 4 best teams actually win their division. That's one of the things that was accomplished by making the new balanced divisions. Splitting up the 4 best teams, so Doug and I are not in the same division, so Mike and Scott don't end up in the same division. Now that might change, and 4 years from now, maybe 2 of the really good teams end up in the same division, but at least starting off, it balances it. So all the 4 good teams do win their divisions. There are a couple more drastic changes, but I'm going to say that for later. More teasers, more waiting by you guys. The standings, the playoff seeds. We'll wait on the playoffs. Let's go to the anti-playoffs. 12 seed, still Lori. 11 seed is Derek Lehman. The 10 seed is Derek Mostrom. Just based on points, Roger, comment on your post. It's coming, Roger. I don't know what your comment is. Doesn't matter. Pretty much any way you slice it, the Derricks were the 3 worst teams by any measure last season. Roger is still the 9 seed. I believe he was the 9 seed before. Jason is the 8 seed. Jason does not sneak into the playoffs. And the 7 seed is Jared. So Jared won his division last year. Does not win his division in the resim. I'm not actually going to spend a ton more time on the anti-playoffs because not a whole lot changed there. It was the same 4 teams that made the semifinals. It was the same 2 teams in the anti-championship game. And Roger still loses by less than a point to Derek Mostrom. I still haven't seen any stat corrections. Maybe you have, Roger. I don't know. So nothing really changed with the anti-playoffs. Jared was the one team that dropped from the playoffs down to the anti-playoffs. He won in the first round. Didn't really affect anything there. I'm done talking about you losers. Over in the playoffs, the 6th seed, Durs makes his way into the playoffs with a losing record. He would have finished 6-7. A losing record, still good enough to sneak into the playoffs. I accidentally said this earlier. I did not mean to say that because I wanted to talk about it now. But Samuels is the 5 seed. That's right. The dude that has caught more shit than anyone else, again, from me. He increases win total from 6 to 7. He finishes with a winning record. He still would have made the playoffs, but he would not have won his division. He would have gotten the 5 seed. I still think there was a little bit of luck involved there because he did not have the 5th most points. No matter what schedule we come up with, still going to be luck involved. And, increased his record. Doug, the team that actually won the regular season, would have gotten the 4 seed. Mike, the 3 seed. Scott, the 2 seed. And yours truly, I would have gotten the 1 seed. More on that later. On the resim of the actual playoffs. Oh, earlier I said only one of Scott and Roger ends up re-winning in the rerun. I also already said that Roger still wins the license plate frame, so Scott does not win the championship in the rerun. So no Dutch oven for the championship. Let's start with week 14, the wild card round. Durs, you said that you thought that you were going to win the championship. You had a pretty good week, scoring 152 points. You would have been the 6 seed. You would have played the 3 seed. The 3 seed was Mike, and Mike dropped 240. So even though you had a pretty good week, you still almost would have lost by 90 points. So Durs, you do not win the championship. In the 4 versus 5 matchup, Swedish Assassin versus the Pink Gorillas. So instead of getting me in the wild card round, Samuels gets Doug. Does not change the result, though. This is where the road ends for the Pink Gorillas / Raccoons, whatever his team name is. So despite finishing with a better record, Samuels actually is hurt by this rerun because he doesn't win his championship. We don't pay any money out for the wild card teams. So in the rerun, even though he finishes better, he would not have won any money. So I'm sure that he's happy with the results that actually happened. And this game would not even have been close either. Doug would have won 202.76 to 124.98. So no real nail biters in the wild card round in the rerun. Let's move on to week 15, the semifinals. Same 4 teams. It's the good 4 teams. And it's the 4 teams that I said would be there at the end. Way back at the beginning of the year, I said it's bullcrap that we share divisions, and I'm really glad that we've balanced them out. But that's pretty much where the results that actually happened stop happening, because the matchups change. Because of this shuffling of the schedule, because I get the 1 seed, I get to play Doug in the semifinals. Mike has to play Scott in the semifinals. So Mike and Scott cannot face each other in the finals, and one of me or Doug will make the finals. Roger, comment on here. Stop commenting. It's coming, I promise. I'm coming. Oh. In the Oven versus Dash matchup, 2 versus 3, Mike gets his revenge. Mike should have played Scott a week earlier, because he would have won 167.5 to 148.1. This is the week that he got a combined 80 points out of Le'Veon, who was on a tear at this time. Jeremy Hill and Julian Edelman. 79.5 points between those three is enough to give Mike the almost a 20-point victory. So again, not really close. Then we get to the other matchup. Finally, a nail-biter. So the 1 seed, the Vinegar Strokes, that was my team name back then, versus the 4 seed, Swedish Assassin. This was Monday Night Football, Bears versus Saints. Going into that game, I would have had a lead of 139.92 to 97.28. I had no more players left playing. He would have had Alshon Jeffrey, Marcus Wilson, whatever his freaking name is, and Jimmy Graham. He would have been projected 148.72 going into Monday Night Football. That would have been an agonizing game for me to watch. I would have just had to sit there and watch my lead slowly dwindle away, just him continually to chip at it. He would have been projected to beat me, but he would have not beat me. This would have been our first nail-biter of the playoffs. I would have beat him 139.92 to 139.38. Barely over half a point I would have beaten him by. So it would have added a little bit of drama to the playoffs that we just did not have this year, because none of the games were really all that close. And this victory would have mattered more than the 2 victories that he actually had over me in the regular season. I wish that I would have played him this week instead of beating him in Week 16 in actuality for the bronze medal game. But alas, that did not happen. If it would have happened, though, it would have been a very familiar result. It would have been the second year of an all-commish final. Commish versus co-commish. It's the would have, could have, maybe should have happened for the second straight year. Did not happen, though. For the third place game, actually we would have had a close matchup here. Scott would have beat Doug by about 7.5 points. Would have been a close game. Would not have been any drama in the championship game. I would have throttled Mike in the championship game. He failed to even drop 100. Just broke my pen. Only posting 94.58. He probably wouldn't have talked as much about, putting an asterisk next to the victory like he does with Scott, because he would have beaten me the year earlier in the one that I give an asterisk to because I played the wrong guy. But I would have destroyed him. I would have won by about 80 points, a little bit more than 80 points. We would have been 1-1 against each other in the championship games. So in the rerun, I would have won the championship. Still not the shocking part. That's not the staggering result that I teased, that I wetted your whistle with yesterday. That's still coming. We still got a lot to go in this video. So I think we can all agree that the 4 best teams were myself, Doug, Mike, and Scott in some order. So the result that actually happened is arguably the most surprising, that Scott actually won, because he put up the fewest points out of the 4 of us from weeks 14 through 16. Now, some of that is he scored only 131 in week 14, where it would have been, I guess, not inconceivable that he would have had to play in week 14, just because all 4 of us were really, really good. It wouldn't have been shocking if he did not get the bye. So it is a little surprising that he won, even though he had arguably the best team all year long. Still a little surprising. Not guaranteed that he would have won the championship. Mike, from weeks 14 to 16, would have... Oh, NBA mock draft. Who cares? Mike would have had the most points with 502.5. He was aided by a huge game in Week 14, and basically it didn't really matter what happened in Week 14. Because we were the 4 best teams, we would have beaten pretty much anyone else. Actually, that's not true, because Durs put up a good week, so Mike did need a good week that week. But his results faded off after that. I was right behind Mike with 494.7 points for those 3 weeks. A little bit of gap back to Doug at 471, and then a huge gap all the way back to Scott at 415. So Scott scored 55 points fewer than any of the other 3 of us in weeks 14 through 16. Still got the championship, and that's all that really matters. I think this is going to be my next analysis for... I'm actually going to dive in, see what's the actual probability if, we randomly assign the 4 of us, seeds 1 through 4. What's the likelihood that each team would have won? Yeah, and Mike probably wasn't going to win the championship. Basically, the only guy he would have beaten in Week 16 would have been Ditka, and Ditka was not sniffing the championship game. So what are some of the most surprising results? I've already talked about the ascension of the Pink Gorillas / Raccoons. And like I said earlier, I'm confident he's happy it played out the way that it actually did. He got a little bit of money back because he doesn't, even though he finishes with a better record. Jared is the biggest loser of the rerun, and therefore the biggest winner of the actual season, as he finishes with 5 fewer victories than what he actually did. Instead of going 9-4, he would have gone 4-9. Doesn't sniff the playoffs. Now, this probably swings a little bit too far the other way. He's probably better than a typical 4-9 team, but he's not as good as a typical 9-4 team. Luck happens. It does happen. That doesn't mean that we can ignore it, but it does happen. But definitely not a 9-4 team. Probably not a 4-9 team, but in this resim, he would have finished 4-9, along with Derek Lehman, Derek Mostrom, himself, Jared, and Jason. So 5 teams all at 4-9. Doug is also a loser of the rerun. He still wins his division, but he doesn't win the regular season, and he actually finishes with 3 fewer victories than what he actually did. He drops from 11-2 all the way down to 8-5. The biggest winner of the rerun is obviously me. That's not why I'm doing it, as I would have won the championship. But still, just the tip of the iceberg. It's coming yet. I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer till we get to that last little nugget. So these are the record changes. What would have happened from what actually happened to what would have happened if we would have just made this one tiny little change of changing up the schedule. Lori is up 1 victory from 2-3. Derek and Derek are both up 1 victory from 3-4. Roger stays at 4. Jason is down 1 victory from 5-4. Jared drops the aforementioned 5 wins from 9-4. Andy is up 1 win from 5-6. Sneaks into the playoffs. Doesn't win any money, but does get into the playoffs. Samuel's the shitter, my toilet for the year. Up 1 victory from 6-7. Doug down 3 wins from 11-8. Mike is up 1 victory from 9-10. Scott stays at 11 wins. Now, you could add up all those wins. You could figure out how many total wins there should be in the league throughout the year. I'll give you a hint. There's 6 wins every week. There are 13 victories each week. Or there's 13 total weeks, so multiply 6 by 13. 78. Subtract all those win totals from 78. You'll figure out how many wins I have. I'm not going to tell you yet. You probably won't try to figure it out. So, Lori, you've got a set of brand new HRC cards coming to you, as you were the closest. You predicted 5 of the 6 playoff teams. You predicted the 4 division winners. You predicted your record within 1 game. You had the correct guess for the champion. You put me down, then you crossed me off and put Mike. Maybe that was just a slam on me. I don't know. So I'm not giving you any credit here because you got that wrong. But you did have the correct answer there. You correctly pegged Roger as the continual loser. And you were the only one that predicted Jared as the biggest loser, having the largest decrease. So good job, Lori. I'll make up your cards there. All right. I've left you guys hanging long enough. The most shocking result, the most staggering result, isn't that I won the championship. I did lap everyone in Week 16, the week that should have mattered. I just didn't get there to the championship game. It's not even that I finished with the best record, and I got the 1 seed on my way to my championship. So sit down for this. Brace yourselves. Not only would I have done all this, won the championship, won the regular season, gotten the 1 seed, but I would have been unfreaking defeated. I would have gone 13-0, and I would have ran the table in the playoffs. Everything would have broken exactly correct for me. I'm not joking when I say that. I did not expect these results. The worst week that I put up, that 1 week, week 11, I lost to Roger. I only dropped 120. I would play Derek Lehman that week on the rerun, and I would have won handily. I would have won by 40. The other 3 best teams, I would have played Mike week 2, where he had all of his injuries, and it wasn't really fair that he had to play that week with all those injuries. I would have beat him by 70. Week 4, I lost to Doug twice in actuality. I would have beat him by 20. Week 5, I would have beat Scott by 13. So my 3 hardest games would have been done by week 5. I wouldn't have had to play Doug a second time. Yeah, my closest game actually doesn't change because I still end up in the same spot because I'm E1 in both simulations and Jared is N2 in both simulations. So we still play each other in week 8. I still win by less than 7 points. That was a squeaker that I had to kind of sweat out. Besides my game with Scott, besides my game with Jared, and I guess I did beat Doug by only 20, I would have beaten every other team on my schedule by at least 25, short of that whole 0.54 point victory that I had over Doug in the playoffs. I would have had to spend all year talking about how lucky I got instead of Jared, and I admit, me going undefeated would have been extremely lucky for me when there were 4 teams that were all neck and neck all year long. Please refer back to the beginning of the video where I said, understand, I was doing this analysis either way. Now, I'm probably not spending 22.5 minutes on this analysis, maybe more like 10. But yeah, the shocking results. Alas, I did not go undefeated. It did not happen. I didn't even win my own frickin' division. I really wanted to close this. I really wanted to play the new SNL short with Andy Sandberg and Adam Sandler. But I thought it was called These Are the Breaks. It's actually called That's When You Break, and that doesn't make any sense. So I'll close with this. Just one minor change, and maybe changing the schedule isn't all that minor. But one change that we did end up making. This is what the schedule would have been if we do this 1 year earlier. If we make that change 1 year earlier, not only do I win the championship, I win the regular season, I go down in history as one of the most dominant teams in fantasy football history. Did not happen like that. Some